Inshallah, we're continuing with verse number 164 from last week, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاخْتِلَافِ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ. This ayah all the way to the end. Indeed, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the alternation of the night and the day, to the end of the ayah. Ayah number 164, surah Al-Baqarah. Imam al-Tabari mentions that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the verse before it, 163, and your Lord is one, and your God is one God, your ilah, wa ilahukum ilahum wahid, la ilaha illa huwa ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This verse, which is 163, when this verse was revealed, the polytheists, the mushrikun, they said, because they set up 360 idols around the Kaaba. So they said in response, how can a single God control and manage and run the affairs of this whole world? How can one God do that? You need many gods. So therefore, this verse was revealed. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that in the creation of the heavens and the earth and all of the things that is mentioned, there are 8 things mentioned in this verse that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks us to reflect on as ayahs, as signs that point to the existence of the one and true God. So in response, this was revealed. This is narrated by Al-Tabari. According to another interpretation, the Quraysh asked the Jews and the Christians about the miracles given to previous prophets. When they learnt of Musa's staff and Isa's revival of the dead, they demanded Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam produce similar miracles. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this verse. So in a way, this verse is about asking people to reflect on these signs as a proof. When the polytheists and the Jews and the Christians refer to their miracles, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving this verse as proof. Miracles are what? What is the purpose of a miracle? To prove the truth of the messenger. The purpose of a miracle is to prove the truth of a messenger. Musa alayhi salam, he had miracles. Isa alayhi salam, he had miracles. Why? To prove to people that this is a true messenger from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the people here that reflect on the creation of the heavens and the earth and the alternation of the day and the night to the end of the ayah, about the ships sailing on the seas, about the clouds and the rain that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings forth, and He raises the earth that was dead, He gives it life, and all of the animals that are, all of the creation that He spread across the earth. In all of these are signs. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, instead of miracles, He's asking us to reflect on the signs in the creation. The signs in the creation. So this verse gives us 8 proofs, 8 signs that point to the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that point to the existence of the Creator, who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. Imam al-Razi, who died in the early 13th century of the Common Era, he devotes several pages in explaining this verse, the cosmos, the signs, the earth, the heavens, the stars, everything, the clouds, the rain and everything. And even then he reflected and he said, that the earth had to be spherical. The earth is round. Even in the 13th century, Imam al-Razi is saying the earth is round. Why? He ponders over this verse and the alternation of the night and the day, and the language in the Qur'an in other places where it talks about the sun, the shadows and everything. He comes to the conclusion the earth is spherical, the earth is round. This is why you get the alternation, the differences, and I'll come into explaining further about when it talks about alternation of day and night. Also, Imam al-Razi, reflecting on this verse also and other verses, he says that since the physical features of every man on earth are at variance with another, meaning every single person is different. Since each person is different physically, it must be assumed that this difference is present already in the nutfa, in the semen of the man, in the fluid that goes and mixes with the egg to create a human being. He's saying the differences must be already in there. So in other words, what we know today, genetic coding in every single person is already present. Imam Razi is not far off, simply through reflecting on these ayahs of the Qur'an and the creation. And this ayah, if you were to collect all the facts that we know today, scientific facts, geological facts, facts of physics about the way the earth works, the sun, the heavens, the stars, all of this immense knowledge, you could spend years explaining all this. This one ayah, because I'm not a scientist, I'm not a physician, I'm not an astronomer. You could spend, if you get the experts, you could spend years and years just describing, talking, discussing this one ayah. Just about the 8 signs that are mentioned in this ayah. The Prophet ﷺ is reported to have said, وَيْلٌ لِمَنْ قَرَأَهَا وَلَمْ يَتَفَكَّرْ فِيهَا. He said, woe unto him who passed over this verse, verse number 164. Woe unto him who passed over this verse, but did not contemplate over it, didn't reflect, didn't think, didn't pause and think and reflect on this verse. He says, woe unto him. This is a very negligible act, to read this verse and to not stop and reflect and contemplate. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that in these signs in His creation, there are signs for those who use their intellect, for those who use their intellect. So these signs are pointing to the truth of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, Mawlana Ashraf Ali Thanawi, he says, the invitation to contemplate on this ayah indicates the fact that religious principles such as Tawheed, the oneness of Allah, the need for prophets, etc., etc., are rooted in reason, something the mind can understand, the aql can interpret. However, it does not mean that the details of religion should conform to the prevalent standards of reason and logic. It is enough if such details are not in total violation of reason and logic. Many immature minds cannot distinguish between the two, are led away from Islam. So he's saying the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking us to reflect, to use our mind, to use our sense, our aql that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave, our intellect, to reflect, to arrive at the conclusion that there is no God but Allah, that there is only one true God, means that the principles of religion, the basic foundations of deen can be understood, are in coordination with our aql. There's no conflict between reason and religion. There's no conflict between reason and revelation. They go hand in hand. They fit. If you have the right religion and the right understanding and the right use of aql, there is no conflict. Deen, religion does not go against reason. It doesn't conflict or clash with reason overall. Yes, some details the intellect may not be able to grasp. Some details the intellect may not be able to grasp or understand. But generally overall, the deen is intelligible. It's understood by the aql. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He commands us to do things, this is why they say, this is the scholars of usul of fiqh, scholars of qawa'id fiqhiyya, scholars of maqasid sharia, who look at the objectives of sharia, who look at the principles, the causes behind ahkam, behind rulings. They all come to the conclusion that the sharia has been sent, as we mentioned many times before, for the benefit, interest, welfare of mankind. And each of the ahkam, the hukum, the laws of Sharia can be understood as to its purpose and as to its objective. So when you group together, for example, the laws, the ahkam around mu'amalat, transactions, for example, contracts or business, if you look at most of the ahkam in Sharia around that, there is a purpose behind all of those laws. You can group them together and you say the purpose behind it is a couple of things. One is justice and fairness between two parties who are transacting. Another one is that the laws always want to achieve or minimize the possibility of dispute between two parties. Always wants to minimize possibility of dispute. And also it wants to eliminate extortion and exploitation between two people or between two parties. So these are the purposes of the laws that surround business transactions in Sharia. If you look at Islamic finance in its original sense, the laws around what types of contracts you're allowed to have, what type of structures you're allowed to have in a business arrangement, if you look at all the laws around it, they all want to achieve certain goals. So like that, the laws around family, the laws around inheritance, the laws around marriage, all of these areas, the laws can be understood by the mind. You can clearly see, the scholars have pointed out, these are the purposes, objectives of these laws. So the deen can be understood by the intellect. It's not anti-reason, it's not anti-intellect. It can be fully, and it makes sense. Because why? This deen is deen of fitrah. It goes with our inherent human nature. Includes our aql. The whole reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us aql, intellect, there's a purpose behind it. Why isn't any other animal able to do, or why haven't they been gifted this intellect? There's a reason behind it. To know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we have responsibility. So that's why in this verse Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks us to reflect, use our intellect. So last week we talked about the first part of the ayah, which was إِنَّ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, indeed in the creation of the heavens and the earth. And I talked about something about the stars, the universe, its size, the heavens. Just quickly on the earth, something about the earth, what are the signs? And like I said, in each thing, Fakhruddin Razi in his Tafsir is devoted about 30-40 pages just on this ayah. And that's with the knowledge they had 700 years ago. Imagine, people who really understand science and the creation and everything, if they do a tafsir of this today. So some of the signs in the earth, what can we reflect about in the earth? Allah is saying, إِنَّ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, indeed in the creation of the earth, heavens and the earth, to the end of the ayah, there are signs. What are those signs? If you look at everything about the earth, its surface, its geology, its mountains, its rivers, to the whole ecosystem that exists, that supports hundreds and millions of different types of species and plants and animals. If you look at the size of the earth, the position of the earth in the universe, in the solar system, in the galaxy, the speed at which it turns, the speed at which it circles the sun. If you look at all of these things, they will point to the fact of one creator. They will point to intention, will, design, purpose. Like there's a reason why the earth is the size it is. There's a reason why it takes the amount of time it takes to circle one day and one night. There's a reason why there's a reason why the distance of the earth is at its precise location from the sun. And there's a reason why the distance of the moon is at its precise location as it is now. All of these are finely tuned. All of these distances, size, weight, and other things that exist, The gravity, the level, the strength of the gravity. Imagine the gravity was less. How difficult would it be to walk? If it was like the moon, could we really live here? No. If it was heavier, could we live here? Could we do anything? No. So everything is exactly, precisely perfect to support the existence of life. And one of the greatest miracles, the greatest thing we can reflect on about the earth is so far, and it's a possibility, we don't know because we don't have knowledge of the whole universe. But up to now, the earth, and we mentioned last week, trillions and trillions of stars that exist, planets in the universe. And they said we can't even see, even with the greatest equipment, they don't know how big the universe is because you can't see beyond a certain distance. The light hasn't reached us. Out of all these billions and trillions of stars, why is it that there is life only on this earth? So far, at least, nothing's been discovered, right? So far, we can say there's life only on this earth. Why is that? Out of all the billions and billions of stars, planets in this universe, why is there life only on this earth? Just that fact, reflect on this. إِنَّ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Indeed, in the creations of the heavens and the earth. Why is there only life on this earth? This also is a sign. It's a sign that there's a purpose behind the creation of this earth. There's a purpose behind the way everything is positioned on this earth. And this fact alone, people get confused with challenges to religion. And some of our young people face problems when they come across challenges from atheists or others who question the validity of a creator or religion, etc. The fact of life and that it exists on this earth and all of the other finely balanced measurements and everything that exists in the way it exists. Like scientists say, it's finely tuned. Everything, all the numbers are finely tuned in terms of the atoms and all of that, how much heat, light, everything. It's so finely tuned and it's so improbable, it's so impossible for it to be an accident that the scientists have to come up with a fantasy theory, something which is impossible to prove and there's no evidence for it. What's that theory? They said it's not that this is impossible, because if you do it in terms of probability, what are the odds of there being 1 trillion planets or more, and only one of them has the perfect conditions for life, and it all happens by accident? What's the probability of this? It's zero. It doesn't exist, the probability. So to get over that, the scientists say, oh no, this isn't the only universe. We have a multiverse. This universe is one of many, many different universes. So then the probabilities become less. Maybe there's 10 universes, for example, but out of 10, one of them contains life. 1 out of 10. So it makes it easier. But this is based on nothing, based on absolutely no evidence. It's just fantasy. So just on the earth, the creation of the earth, if you reflect, it will point you towards Tawheed, to the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the existence of one creator who has a purpose and design and has a will and has an intention behind the creation. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the next, so those are 2 samawat, which we covered last week, wal ard, both of them. The third proof that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, third and fourth, that He wants us to look at is the third is the changing وَاخْتِلَافِ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ, the changing or the alternation of the night and the day. Ikhtilaf here can mean either one follows the other. Ikhtilaf ordinarily means difference. Ikhtilaf means difference. But also it comes from a word which means to follow, succeed one after another, like in istikhlaf or khalifa, the one who succeeds the other. So here, واختلاف الليل والنهار could mean two things. One, the first one, it could mean the night. There is signs in the following of the night and day, that they come one after another, one after another. This sequence, this following, in there is a sign. Or it could mean that the difference between the night and the day, there are differences. Night is full of darkness, day is full of light. Night is cold, day is warm. The night is a certain length, a day is another length. You know, there's very clear differences between the night and the day. The night is not like the day. So in those differences are signs, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions many favors related to the changing alternation of the night and day in the Qur'an. One of the big ones he mentions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, relating this as a favor, the alternation of the night and day. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ أَرَأَيْتُمْ إِنْ جَعَلَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكُمُ اللَّيْلَ سَرْمَدًا إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ مَنْ إِلَهٌ غَيْرُ اللَّهِ يَأْتِيكُمْ بِضِيَاءٍ أَفَلَا تَسْمَعُونَ. He says, have you considered if Allah should make for you the night continuous until the day of resurrection, what deity other than Allah could bring you light? Then will you not hear? Then he says, قُلْ أَرَأَيْتُمْ إِنْ جَعَلَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكُمُ النَّهَارَ سَرْمَدًا إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ مَنْ إِلَهٌ غَيْرُ اللَّهِ يَأْتِيكُمْ بِلَيْلٍ تَسْكُنُونَ فِيهِ أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ. And similar about the night, he said, say, have you considered if Allah should make for you the day continuous until the day of resurrection, what deity other than Allah could bring you a night in which you may rest? Then will you not see? وَمِنْ رَحْمَتِهِ جَعَلَ لَكُمُ اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارَ لِتَسْكُنُوا فِيهِ وَلِتَبْتَغُوا مِنْ فَضْلِهِ وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. And out of His mercy, He made for you the night and the day, and that you may rest therein, and by day seek from His bounty, and that perhaps you will be grateful. Also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Qur'an, وَجَعَلْنَا اللَّيْلَ لِبَاسًا وَجَعَلْنَا النَّهَارَ مَعَاشًا. And we made the night as a garment, and we made the day for livelihood. Also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ مَنَامُكُمْ بِاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ وَابْتِغَاؤُكُمْ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمِ يَسْمَعُونَ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and from His signs is your sleep during the night and the day, and your seeking livelihood from His bounties. Indeed, in that are signs for people who hear, people who listen. So like this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the night and the day as big signs and favors. Why are they favors? What are the favors of the night and day? There are many blessings and favors if we reflect on the alternation of the night and day, some of which are, and they all point to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as signs. What are these favors? What are these amazing things that point to a creator? The first one is that the fact that these differences, that why are there, if we take the meaning to be, night is different and day is different. Not only that, each day is different from another day in terms of its length. Does every day stay the same length? No. It becomes shorter and shorter, and then it becomes longer, winter and summer. And depends where you are on the earth, it's also different. So there's ikhtilaf even in the day itself throughout the year and throughout the globe. Same with the night. Night is long in the winter. It's short in the summer, but it's also long in some parts of the earth, and it's also shorter in other parts. So ikhtilaf, these differences are there. Why? He said, because the earth is rotating and the earth is going around the sun and the axis is tilted. So in the alternation, meaning why is the alternation there? Why is the difference there? It's how the earth is positioned. It's the distance from the sun. It's how it's going around the sun. It's the tilt of the axis. Why is it like that? What's the purpose? There is a purpose behind it. It means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted something from it. There's a reason behind it. There's an intelligent reason behind it. Why? Because if we think of this, then the positioning of the earth, which creates the sun and the earth, and the tilt, which creates these differences in the alternation of the day and night, it points to a creator. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it like this. And we'll come to why. Also, he says, the difference in the lengths of the days and nights. Again, ikhtilaf in the nights and the days themselves. Points to what? It points to the different seasons. Why are the nights becoming shorter? Why are the days becoming longer? It's a sign that we're moving from one season to another. Moving from winter to spring to summer to autumn. Again, why do we have these seasons? It's the cycle of life. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings forth life in vegetation, plants, fruits, even the animals. And then they grow and they reach their heights, fully grown in the summer or whatever. And then winter again, they die. And this is the cycle of life. Again, this is planned. There is a will behind it. There is a purpose behind it. We can see that very clearly. So in the alternation of the night and day, it points to the changing of the seasons. And the seasons that exist, there's a reason behind it. It's not just accidental. It's not for anything. Somebody created that. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, it's a sign pointing to one God. Why is there changes? The ordering of the people to seek their sustenance and to work during the daytime and to sleep and rest during the night is intimately connected to our bodies, our functions, our biological clocks, the way our eyes react to light and darkness. The fact that we want to sleep or can sleep at night and we're active in the daytime, it's not an accident. Our bodies are designed and created in that way. Our bodies are created to sleep at night. Our bodies are created to be active in the daytime. And even if you analyze, look into this thing, just one thing about the eyes, and why is it when the lights go out or it becomes dark or evening, why does our body slow down? Just look into that. The receptors in the eyes that signal when there's no light and how that triggers the body. What happens to the body? It goes into sleep mode, rest mode. You know, how things slow down, the changes in the biological changes that happen in the body. This is all signs from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in the Qur'an, He orders us or tells us and informs us that I've made the night for you to rest. He's made the whole earth, the sun, the system in that way, and He's made our bodies to correspond to that system. There's no accident. It's impossible that accidentally some cell billions of years ago accidentally simply grows into this human being that's so connected to the universe and how it works. Impossible. So this is another favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the studies of sleep have shown that the nighttime sleep is much more productive and effective than sleeping in the daytime, except for in the afternoon. Afternoon sleep is also effective and productive. But nighttime sleep is the most productive and effective. This is how our bodies have been created. And this is what the Qur'an tells us. The fourth sign in the alternation of the day and the night, and the differences in the day and night, is that they are opposites. Usually when you get two opposites, two opposing forces, or two opposing things, usually the result is negative. Usually, not always, but usually it's negative. Not much good you can expect from two opposing forces. They will clash, or they won't go together, they won't coordinate. But see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions two opposing things, light and darkness, night and day. And yet it comes together for the benefit of human beings, subhanAllah. This is another sign that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has brought two opposing things to give you all these benefits as human beings. Then also another sign in the changes of the day and the night is that the length of the night and the day have been made to be balanced and reasonable. Imagine if the day was only 1 hour. How would we live? Or the night was only 3 hours or 2 hours. It is like that in some places at the extremes. But for the most part of the globe, it's a balanced, medium type of length, around less or more around the 12-hour mark of each, depending on the season, depending on where you are on the globe. So the fact that throughout most of the globe, the middle portion of it, or the vast central portion of the globe, we have a balanced amount of light and day, a median amount of light and day. This is also a sign and favor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine if you were to live at the extreme of the globe, north or south, where the days are 6 months and the night 6 months. It's impossible to live. It's impossible to almost have any life there. Same as the extreme South Pole. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made most of the globe where people can live. This is also a favor and a sign. The different times during the day, the sections, different sections of the day and the night also reflect the different sections of our lives. They said at Fajr and sunrise is like the newborn, the birth. At sunrise, Fajr, the sun comes up, it's the beginning of life. And then at Dhuhr, at the time of just after when the sun is right at the midpoint, this is the strongest part of the day, the hottest. This is when man becomes in his full youth, he's strongest, he's at his peak. Then the Asr time comes. Slowly, it's going downhill. Then Maghrib comes, it's almost to the end of the life. And then Isha comes, night time is death, right? So there is a reflection there in every day. In the time sections of the day, there's a reflection there that corresponds to our lives, the lives of human beings. So in there is a sign. In the nighttime, the Prophet ﷺ, the nighttime is a reminder of death. Because when we sleep, the Prophet ﷺ called it what? The smaller sleep, or the smaller death, or the brother of death. That every time we sleep, our soul is taken out partially, temporarily, almost like death. It's a mini death. Every time we sleep at night, every night when we sleep, it's a mini death. Those that will live, the soul is returned when we wake up. Those who will be taken by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will not wake up. So again, in there is an ayah, there is a sign pointing to the Creator. And also the nighttime is also a time of solace, silence, reflection in prayers. The Prophet ﷺ used to spend much of his nights in prayer, So it's a reminder of death, but it's also a huge opportunity to gain closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whilst everyone else is asleep. So we can see at least these favors, and there's many more if you reflect and think and read all of the tafsirs by different scholars. They list other things as well. Just in this one part of this ayah, so this was the third sign. What are all these signs? 8 signs. What are they pointing towards? That there is one God. That there is no God but Allah. there is only one God. This is because we mentioned last week, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the statement, verse number 163, He made the statement that your Lord, your God is one, there is no God but He is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. He made that statement, but then now He didn't leave you just with that statement. He's giving people, especially those who oppose it, those who have doubts, He's giving them 8 proofs that point towards this statement, that prove this statement. So the third one was the changing, the alternation of the day and the night. If you truly reflect on these things, you will come to the conclusion that there is no God but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And just as the whole physical world, which are also signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah is asking us to see the signs where? In the physical world, in the creation, in the heavens, in the earth, in the rain, in the animals. So that's the physical world. And Allah is calling them ayahs, signs. But also the Qur'an, all of it is full of what? Signs, ayahs, right? Allah calls them also ayahs. So, just as all of the physical world is there for our benefit, for our interests, هو الذي خلق لكم ما في الأرض جميعا. هو الذي خلق لكم ما في الأرض جميعا. As we mentioned earlier on in Surah Al-Baqarah, He is the one who has created whatever there is on the earth, everything on the earth for you. He's created everything on the earth. Whatever you see on the earth, it's for you. It benefits you in some way. So I was reading something the other day, even things like, say, vultures, right? You think, what's the benefit of vultures? You know, they actually stop diseases from spreading. Because when animals die, vultures come and eat those animals. They eat the carcass. It stops diseases from spreading. هو الذي خلق لكم ما في الأرض جميعا. So never ever belittle a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even the ants, the bee, we know the role of the bees in the survival of this ecosystem. Every single animal, every single creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a function and a purpose. So just as the signs in the physical world are there for us, for our benefit, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He created all this for us, our benefit. Similarly, likewise, the signs in the Qur'an, the ayahs of the Qur'an, meaning the whole deen, the whole sharia, are there for our benefit. It's for our benefit in the dunya and the akhirah. So this is something to reflect on. Inshallah, next week we'll cover a few more of these signs from this verse, inshallah.